Welcome back to the Cricket Today podcast on Wednesday, February 28th. We're back for a whole range of world cricket, so make sure you listen to this wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching on there. Get around us in the comments, send in any questions. I'm your host, Liam McAllion, also known as the Stats Guy. I'm here with Leo Mullaly. He's always up and about, he likes to say. How you going, Leo?
Feeling good, Stats Guy. Hopefully the Aussies can rock New Zealand tomorrow, just like India did to England. Just a reminder.
Yeah, just a reminder, to all the Poms out there. India did, really well. Bazball might be gone, as we talked about. Check that episode out from earlier in the week as well.
It's dead.
Marcus Bazzano, who's famous for saying that Bazball is dead. How you going, Marcus?
Bazball is well and truly dead.
And we're just, all talking about the Australia versus New Zealand now, which we're very excited for. Yeah, the first test is in Wellington. Got a year now where Steve Smith makes another appearance. We're always talking about him on the show.
Yeah, it seems a bit too much, but...
Nah, you can always talk about Smithy, I reckon. We've got a crazy record-breaking knock and just a bit of everything on today's show. So let's get right into it. We'll start with the do you want to read it out, Marcus? I think you put it in there.
Yeah, sure thing. Do we continue with Steve Smith opening? Do we continue with that experiment? Yeah,
Stats Guy, you go first.
I'm going to go, yeah. Just obviously, it wasn't his fault that we lost. I wouldn't say it's his fault against West Indies.
He actually played
really well in that match where everyone some of the players tried to blaze away a bit. He put his head down, got that 90 odd. It was really good. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think in Test, yes. In all the other formats where we're trying to open him in the 2020s, that's a really dumb idea. I don't know what they're thinking there. But in Test, the higher he's been up in the order, his stats have been good. And I think, especially in these New Zealand conditions, experience in the top order is just going to be vital. So I don't mind him being still as an opener.
Well, the answer is yes, because he's going to.
Yeah.
Whether he should or not, I'm a bit skeptical.
What do you reckon if he should or not?
I think we give him this series to prove it. Because he didn't prove it against the Windies. I know he made a score, but if he was batting at 4, he would have made the exact same score.
True.
I don't know,
This is a more quality opposition in New Zealand
tougher
than
bowling
the West Indies.
conditions.
Definitely.
And
tougher bowling.
The ball's gonna swing a bit early, and there's not going to be much for the spinners apparently. So.
Yeah. The only thing is sometimes this has been in his career where he sort of backs against the wall. He's had a tiny bit of a slump in form, then he bounces back. Obviously, he's a bit older now, but there's a lot of times in his career where, I think he'll bounce back. So do you guys reckon he'll have a good series, or are you leaning towards he might struggle opening?
It depends if he decides to dance around the wicket.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if he plays his normal game, plays really patiently, because you're going to have to on this wicket, I reckon. Yeah.
He just needs to keep his feet planted in that one spot and stop moving around the stumps.
Well, he's always going to move around a little bit because he's the most fidgety guy in the world. But it'll just be interesting to see if he can make a big score.
Yeah, I think a lot of pressure should be on him, I think, in the first innings too, because that's where the statement will be made, I think. More so than a second innings score, but
and put pressure on their bowlers and things like that. Especially, overcast conditions usually in New Zealand. You got the pitch apparently is going to be doing a bit for the bowlers, sort of very English-like conditions as we talked about before in New Zealand. We're all a bit hesitant on Smithy opening, but he's going to open anyway. I think he's still well deserved to, and we'll just have to wait and see if he dominates from here. Bit of news. I think Marcus put this one in as well. There was some crazy... we don't often give a shout-out to the Namibian cricket team, but we have to at this. Leo's like, what is going on here? But I think we've got to talk about him. What have we got there, Marcus?
Well, I don't want to butcher his name. I guess that's why he threw it to me.
But I'm happy to say his name.
Well, Loftie-Eaton. We'll just say that.
Yeah, Loftie-Eaton.
Fired the all-time fastest 2020 international ton overnight against Nepal. 101 of 36 deliveries. 11 fours and 8 sixes.
That is unbelievable. We love a bit of Namibian cricket on this show, Mike.
Against Nepal, I reckon you could make a 50.
No. There's been some decent cricketers come out of Nepal. Some also dodgy people
who was
that I won't talk about on this podcast.
Who was the young spinner?
That's the one we're talking about. But he's in jail now for...
The one who played for the Stars?
Yeah. Well, we can talk... I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but he did some...
Assault
and things like that. That's why their team's probably not as good anymore, because he was their star player.
Oh.
And Marcus
he wasn't that good.
Yeah, but I'm saying he was Nepal's probably star player. Most likely, because he was playing overseas. But yeah, I'm surprised you didn't hear about that one, Mark.
No,
that's when Leo and I were looking at each other like, oh, maybe we shouldn't mention this one. But yeah, there you go. So without him, Lamashane, he's in jail right now, so that doesn't help their team. That probably helps Loftie-Eaton strike the fastest ever 100. So there we go. So now we're going to quickly go away from that, because that's a bit awkward from Nepal and Namibia. Good on Loftie-Eaton for striking the fastest ever 100 though. We're going to have an interview with Code Sports journalist Daniel Cherny covering the batting and bowling lineups for Australia versus New Zealand. Who will stand out for Australia and New Zealand, the standout players. And let's get right into that right now. Cricket Today here with another special segment rather than the usual panel. We've brought in some extra professionalism. I'm here again with Code Sports journalist Daniel Cherny, live from New Zealand ahead of the Test series as Australia head over there. What should be a really good series. Thanks for coming on, Dan, and how you going?
No worries, Liam. Yeah, good to be with you.
Good to be with you. Looking forward to a really good test series. Some really good players, obviously, between both sides in this test series. I'm going to start with the bowlers. Looking at Boland and Nisa, obviously in the squad. People are saying should they come in, the New Zealand conditions might suit them. Very similar to English conditions. Sometimes can be a bit overcast, a bit in the pitch. Do you think we'll change our bowling lineup at all, or will we just keep towards that winning formula with the big quicks that we always like to pick?
No, I think it's highly unlikely there'll be any change, barring injury, any stage during the series, or if someone's under the weather or workload becomes a concern. But given the pitches, I think it's pretty unlikely. No, look, they've thrown their hand that they're very much willing to back in the big three, and Boland and Nisa are only there in case of emergency, really.
Yeah, I'll probably agree on that with the bowlers there, Dan. They like to back in their big quicks, who have obviously won them so much over the past couple of years. I'm going to go into the batting. Do you feel confident in our batting at the moment? Obviously, lost that last test to the West Indies, which was a bit of a shock, probably to do with our batting. Do you think which Aussies need a lift, and do you think we'll sort of keep that same batting lineup?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they flagged from a long way out. They're not going to touch the batting lineup. I mean, they said that, within an hour of the loss to the West Indies at the Gabba, which was obviously a shock. But, I mean, they're only 2 tests into this sort of revamped top 6 and batting lineup. So I don't think there's any possibility of a change, again, barring sort of injury or illness or a late spanner in the works. But no, they've sent Matt Renshaw over as the spare batter, as he was for this West Indies test. I mean, he's had a very poor run in domestic cricket of late. So, he's hardly banging down the door himself. The guys that I suppose notionally bang down the door, like Cameron Bancroft, aren't even in the country. So there's no way they're going to. There's no way going to touch the top 6. It's going to remain the same.
Yep. And then from that last test, over the last sort of few tests, who do you think needs to lift in this Aussie batting lineup? So Marnus, obviously he's still a great batsman and had a great career, but people are saying he needs to lift, or is there anyone else that you think sort of needs to just take the game to the next level again, just to confirm their spot? Yeah.
Oh, look, I don't think any of them are under huge selection pressure right at the moment. I suppose still the most vulnerable one within there is Cameron Green, given he was the most recent guy in. But by the same token, they're obviously desperate to get him into the side, given what he brings with his all-round skill set and his capacity there. And then they've, I suppose, bent over backwards to get him into the side by putting Smith as up to the opening spot. Otherwise, I think Marnus is under the pump. Not under the pump from a spot perspective.
Just in the middle a little bit, yeah.
But just more to the point, he hasn't really made huge scores in a while. He's at a middling 12 months by his standards. I mean, he's set a very high standard across the first 5 or so years of his test career. His average has dropped from 60 to 50 across that period. So, look, he needs to lift. I mean, I suppose as a collective, they need to lift. They've probably been bailed out at times by the bowling or by one sort of standout performance here or there, by Travis Head in Adelaide, by Mitch Marsh in Melbourne, even David Warner in Perth to an extent. Steve Smith almost bailed them out in Brisbane. So, it's rare that they've all clicked at once. Usman Khawaja's been pretty consistent without reaching probably the absolute heights that he did across periods of 2022 and 2023. So, look, I think it is as a collective, but probably most eyes would probably be on Marnus, but Smith and Green not far off.
No, I think, you make some very good points. Especially with that batting lineup. We haven't had a real collective group effort for not too long, but definitely the last few tests. So it'll be interesting to see how we go in this series. We'll finish off with a series prediction and a player from each side do you think that will really stand out in this series? So a New Zealand player that you think will stand out, an Aussie player that you think will be the standout, and then a series prediction across these 2 tests, if that's all right, Dan.
Oh, look, I still think it'll be Australia 2-0 for all that. Look, I know New Zealand, they are a hard side to beat in New Zealand, but you look at history and the way Australia have had the better of them over a long period of time now. And at the end of the day, Australia are the reigning World Test champions. That there is still a lot of quality there. And I suppose a good sign for Australia is they've been largely winning without their batting firing all cylinders. So I think there's still a lot of upside there.
Definitely.
In terms of the players to watch, look, I think Josh Hazlewood had a fantastic summer. So you'd imagine that the pitches in New Zealand should suit his bowling style. And then from New Zealand, look, I really liked Rachin Ravindra and his entrance into international cricket. He was recalled for that series against South Africa, made that big 240 against the Proteas. So he's obviously a real player to watch, a star on the rise, and it'll be interesting to see how he combats the Aussies.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Rachin Ravindra is probably one of my favourite players outside of Australia to watch at the moment. He's awesome. The Hoff, I think, Hazlewood will go really well in those conditions. Just can cut off the seam, can use the swing bowling. It'll be really, really interesting to watch, actually, and it'll be interesting to see how he opens the bowling and things like that. I think that's it, Dan. That was really good. Check out Daniel Cherny on Code Sports. Some great articles at the moment, covering a lot over in New Zealand for the New Zealand versus Australia Test matches. Thank you very much for coming on, Dan, and we'll do this all again next time.
No worries, Liam. All good.
Thank you very much. Let's get right back into the usual show. Welcome back to the usual show here. We've got the Australia versus New Zealand first test preview we're going to do here in Wellington, I believe, Leo, if that's correct. He's just gone, I don't know. Someone wrote that in the run sheet. I just hope that's correct. In Wellington, we're going to say. It's going to be a huge test series, 2 test matches, actually. And we've got a few notes here. You want to go through some of them? Leo, why don't you go through some of them?
Yeah, so no Devon Conway. That's a big out. And obviously Wagner retired before a ball was even bowled.
Yeah, he was in the squad, actually.
Yeah, so it's a medium-sized out, I'd say. He's a good bowler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking before that he was a really good bowler, but he's probably just a bit older now. Yeah.
Bit of a if Scott Boland retires. Be like, oh
What?
no.
What do you mean? Aussie, New Zealand legend.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What I mean?
I don't know. That's a weird
It's the
comparison.
equivalent.
Is it? Wagner's played a lot more tests than Boland, though.
Boland retiring, Wagner has, but Boland retiring will have a far greater impact on Australia than it will New
Then
Zealand.
Do you reckon?
Wagner
Absolutely,
retiring in New Zealand.
stats guy.
All right.
It's Scotty Boland. He's getting a statue built.
Yes, he is.
Wagner's, what's he doing?
Oh, he played, what did he play? 64 tests.
Yeah, he's a great bowler.
200 wickets. He's a great bowler. What is Leo?
Do you have a statue, Leo?
What? Oh, not yet. We'll have a statue down the bottom somewhere here at one point. Leo's lost the plot.
Let's
move on. I don't know what's going on in the corner over there. Let's get into our prediction and our play of the match. We can even talk about the meetings and the overall meetings if you want to talk about that, Marcus, for your prediction. But we'll start with you. Prediction, player of the match, and any other stats you want to go through.
Yeah, well, I'm leaning with Australia here. Obviously, in the 60 meetings between these two sides, or two nations in Test cricket, New Zealand have only won 8 of 60.
That is pathetic.
Matches.
That is
They
pathetic.
think they've got a rivalry between Australia and New Zealand in cricket.
Yeah, they hate us apparently, but
they hate us, but we probably don't care.
We
as
don't
much.
care about. They're probably in terms of rivalries.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second. In terms of rivalries for Australia,
Obviously
where does New
England.
Zealand rank? England will probably be up there.
Fourth.
India
would be up there.
Well, who's third?
South Africa.
Ooh, just because we've had some closer
absolutely.
matches, maybe.
There's a lot
Because a
more
lot
fiery.
of history and
Even
Yeah.
before Sandpaper Gate,
Even in World Cups and things like that with South
South
Africa.
Africa.
The
only
there's been some
time-
controversial.
Where it was really close, Australia and New Zealand was in those one days, the World Cup final, obviously, and things like that. But in overall history, you could be right, fourth.
That wasn't
Yeah.
even close though.
No, it wasn't close. It was we smashed
Well,
them.
didn't we play New Zealand in the underarm?
Yes,
game as
actually,
well?
that
So
back
there is
in
a
the
bit of
day, it
history.
might have been when the underarm that was horrible.
Yeah, but then we got good.
Yeah, I was like, is he going anywhere with that? We got good. That sounded real American. Yeah,
but like
that's pretty pathetic.
Yeah,
8
they
wins.
probably care about us the most, whereas we don't really care about them. But Australia won 34 of 60, and there's been 18 draws.
Yeah, okay.
But I think there's some rain forecast for the final 2 days of the Test match, I believe.
That's not good.
But for a player of the match, it's going to suit the fast bowlers. There's going to be plenty of movement early on, and I'm going to lead towards. I actually might change. I'll go Mitchell Stark.
Stark?
As my man of the
Okay.
match. I had Cummins in there, but
Yep.
I'll go Stark just because I think he can get more out of the swinging ball
Yep.
early.
Especially early, might get some early wickets. I don't mind that, Leo.
Well, if you're going to change, I'm going to change because I saw you wrote Cummins and I wrote Hazelwood because you wrote Cummins. So I'm going to change to Cummins.
Oh, okay.
I think there'll be a lot of nip off the wicket.
Yep.
That's his specialty.
Yep.
I think he'll
A lot of edges. Yeah.
lot of edges, sort of nipping back in to get that bowled, I reckon, as well. And Australia will win, I think. I know the batting has been a little bit lackluster, but I still think we've got enough to just dismantle this New Zealand team.
Yep. No, I agree. I'm gonna lean toward the Aussies as well. The record we have against them is incredible, as Marcus talked about as well. You got Rachin Ravindra. I just want to talk about. I think he's going to have a really good series because I love him.
How many's making in this one? 200?
I wouldn't be
300?
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he make 200 and their team makes
400?
300 just because they're. I think
500?
no, max 100 probably. I think he definitely could make 100 in this match. I think their batting lineup is not suited against Australia. I think Australia's bowling lineup is just going to absolutely tear through them.
Yeah, I think our bowling lineup way outclasses their batting lineup compared to like
the other way
vice
around.
versa.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. We still got the best bowlers against any team, pretty much, other than maybe India. And then I got to go player of the match, Trav Ball. I was leaning towards some fast bowlers because it's going to be really good. But Trav Head, obviously, he is really good against some of the guys. Even when it's swinging a lot, he can swing through it. He might get out cheaply in the first innings, but then in the second innings, I reckon he could fire up. He's one of the only players that sort of can take the game on, even in tough conditions. And sometimes you got to do that when when the ball's really swinging, I think he did it in England. Was that in the Test Championship final? Was that Trav Head that did really
against
well?
India?
Yeah, and that
in the
was
finals.
swinging a lot as well. And he sort of just tried to swing through the line and sort of stop the swing a bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you have to do to play in these conditions over there. So I think Trav could do really well.
They're relatively smaller grounds as well, boundaries wise.
They are,
so I
yeah.
think once the swing dies out a bit,
Yeah,
quickly
through the infield.
He could definitely hit quite a few boundaries and even make a quick 50.
Yeah, that's what I reckon. I reckon even if it's not 100 in this match, you could make a quick 70, then a quick 40, a quick 60, and that's going to get him out of the match. So I'm going to lean towards Trav Ball there, especially as well, the Aussies really share their wickets. So I reckon, other than Cummins, a few matches in Australia, overseas we like to share our wickets. So I reckon it will be interesting to see who they give man of the match there. All right, we're pretty biased, but we've all gone the Australians in this one just because we're obviously killing it. New Zealand probably don't have the depth that we do. So, and that's stumps for the Cricket Today show. Marcus added that one little in there. I like that. We'll be back with this on Monday at the conclusion of day 5 of that first test. It might still be going, or we could actually do it later in the day. So make sure you watch that for a wrap up of the test match. Get right around the show. Send in any questions. Have a look at it all over the socials and some fun stuff we're doing on there. Thank you very much, Jared, for producing. Thanks, Leo.
Cheers, Stats guy.
Thanks, Marcus.
Cheers, Tesco.
And thanks to me. That's another episode of Cricket Today done. We're out.